Now, in the last few hours, there have been, I'm sad to report, multiple explosions in the western Ukrainian city of Lviv. The cloud of smoke seen near the airport. My next guest has spent over a week reporting on the crisis in Ukraine, meeting refugees on the Polish border. And among those was the family of his former Strictly partner, Oksana, after they were forced to flee their country. And Rob returned home yesterday and joins me now. As we said, you went to report on this refugee crisis. I mean, an astonishing experience, but you said you saw the best of humanity.
It's overwhelming, and everybody I know that's been at the border, that's been at the train stations there, and you just showed a picture of Lvov, which literally a few hours ago was a safe Western city. It's really hard to communicate that with everybody at home unless you stand there.
True.
But it doesn't feel any different from any of our British cities. It's as first world as it gets, surrounded by all the vestiges of Western liberal democracy that 4 weeks ago people sitting happily in bars and clubs would have taken completely for granted that they were safe forever. But yes, as I was standing there at this modern train station, Pendolino line, it looked like not that much different from standing in Milton Keynes or Euston Station, only the trains actually worked, in and out of Ukraine, where a week ago people would commute. There was this sea of humanity. And by humanity, we talk about refugees, it's women and kids.
Yeah.
And also at the border, people walking on foot, very often with just the clothes on their backs. It's mums and kids, mums and children, babies in arms. And I'm really glad to be here with you, Lorraine. You know, I wanted to come and sit on your sofa because, apart from anything else, what I think you do is speak the British people up and speak up the goodness in the world. And that's not Pollyannaing. There's a lovely phrase, I think it's Abraham Lincoln, accredited to him: if you look for the bad in mankind, seeking to find it, you surely will.
Yeah.
But I've got to tell you, I saw, and I'm going to talk about just the British people, the spirit of Dunkerque at that border. Within hours, there was a great big table set up by the Sikh community giving out food.
Yeah.
There were British ex-servicemen who'd driven 30 hours with equipment, ambulance drivers on their days off, a policeman at the border giving out toys, giving out whatever people needed as they arrived. There was so much human decency there and at the reception centre. Also, British charities giving out whatever aid they could. I mean, it sort of represented the greatest of humanity. There's that sense, you know, in the dark, you light a candle and it illuminates everything.
Yes.
There's so much light there. And every other reporter, despite all of the horror that we are seeing, that gets to stand on that border will tell you the same thing. Of course, they come away with this crushing sense of we need to do more, and especially governments need to get the administrative stuff in place. But they also come away with this overwhelming sense that, confronted by horror, humankind will step up now, and especially the British, to do their very best to help.
Yeah, exactly. If we're allowed to help, we will. Some of the scenes, though, you know, you said about it being close. I mean, we're only talking a couple of hours away, aren't we? You know, that's all that it is. But some of the images were like World War II. I mean, that's what I find so utterly chilling.
It is evocative.
You look at that. That's terrifying.
And it really is. You know, and there is a personal element.
Of course.
You know, my grandfather, sadly, he had no safety. It was too late. He came here after the war. You know, and his family were killed. And just before the war, there were kinder transports out of Germany. And in this country, we provided trains out of the Brits, which both of my grandparents were recipients of. But exactly as you described, that is evocative of that. These trains, wagon loads of mums and kids arriving, cheek to jowl into a train station. And it's impossible and hard to believe it's 2 hours away. Exactly like you described. You know, thinking about it before, how far away is that? That's sort of less than the UK to Spain. Yeah. And it looks the same. And again, it's worth remembering, a few weeks ago, the road at the border looked like the road between, I don't know, London and Milton Keynes. The train station looked and felt modern. Yeah. As we sit here and we think about our complacency, about our own Western liberal democracy, what it feels like, why we feel safe, lots of it is because of things around us, and you realise how fragile that is standing there. Very fragile. That's such a good point. And, of course, for you personally, you're really good friends with, of course, Oksana, who you worked with on Strictly Come Dancing, and you were able to catch up with her family because she must be beside herself trying to find out what's wrong with them and where they are and are they safe and what's going on. She was, and it was such a privilege and gift to be able to give her something back. You know, I think people watch Strictly and they think it's a load of hoo-ha when they say, we'll be friends forever. You know, it's telly. You know what people on telly are like. But actually, we really did become close. And as soon as I saw what was happening in the Ukraine, we got in touch with each other. And she was desperately worried about her grandparents.
Of course.
They are 85 and 95. They took about a week to get over the border. They have to say, really went through to say the very least, a trauma of being able to cross. Grandad has Parkinson's disease, and Grandma, until we arrived, wasn't really able to get out of bed because, of course, like lots of disabled people, they escaped with whatever they could. So no wheelchair and none of the stuff they need, none of the medical supplies. And you know the greatest thing, and again, this is good news and for us to reflect on perhaps on a Friday, is that they had absolutely nothing when we arrived, really, except each other. We gave them what we could, a wheelchair, this and that. They gave us tea, and when you see her auntie giving me a hug, they told me, despite having nothing, not only were they grateful to us and the British people, by the way, but they were grateful for absolutely everything. And, you know, she rested her head on my shoulder and just said, thank you. And that thing about what matters most to each and every one of us, what this crisis also brings home is hold your family close. Hold democracy close.
It really does, doesn't it?
Right, and how great we can be at our very best.
But absolutely. What do they need most, do you think, Rob? Because I know people here, and you've said the British public are hugely generous. We want to make sure that we're giving the right things to the right place.
Yeah, so there are fantastic organisations that are working out there. You know, one that springs to mind, for example, the Red Cross, who are in the stations, who, as ever, are always present on the front line. Fantastic. There are things that are running out, like wheelchairs and so on and so forth. There are already the amazing British public offering their homes. You know, as you know, there's a difference between that Dunkirk spirit of people giving their homes and saying, I've got a spare room. I'm afraid to say the slight Dad's Armoury of the British government who don't have a desk in the reception centre.
See, that's appalling.
So it's all very well to say, look, the British public have promised our home, we will do whatever we can. And by the way, as is often the case, as is commonly the case, it's the poorest, it's mostly working class communities have said, whatever we've got, we can share. We just want to match with a family. But when they arrive at a reception centre at, say, Przemysl railway station, they need to make sure there's a big desk with a British flag doing all of the paperwork. We went to Krakow to the embassy there, where you may be directed at the moment because there's nowhere to help, and it was shut because of COVID. So we want volunteers in Poland to come and sit for free. It's not going to cost anything. Sit there and just help people fill out the forms. Get some people from the Home Office.
Make it easier, for goodness sake.
Right, that's all.
That's all we want to do.
It's a small thing.
I know.
We don't say the government are bad. It's not a political point. There are so many British people out there helping, not just doing their bit, doing more than their bit. They are light in the darkness. How much does it take for our British government to reflect those great British values and to help people deliver on the promises they've already made, Lorraine?
Yeah, exactly. Just get it done.
Right.
Keep the door open, for goodness sake. Open the door. Rob, thank you for coming in and talking to us.
And also, just a shout-out, Operation Light is happening on Monday. Great Scottish government have been brilliant on this, and the British government have finally responded as well, flying 50 refugees, 50 orphans and their guardians. It's an amazing story. Do follow it, please. They are incredible. And there's a charity last week, which was a group of Hibernian fans, a couple of them, Stevie Carr at the head of them, who just had an orphanage in Ukraine, who are now rescuers.
Amazing.
It's an amazing story of goodness. I think if we focus on that, what a joyous way to go in the weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Rob for Prime Minister, that's what I say. He says no. UNICEF is also raising money to help protect children in Ukraine. If you want to donate, details on the screen. You've got to be 18 or over. 100% of your donation will go to UNICEF, to the people that need it most. Don't forget, you can watch full episodes of Lorraine on the ITV Hub and all the best clips, compilations and playlists right here on our channel. Just subscribe now and you'll never miss an upload. Click here to watch another video similar to this one, or click here to head to our channel's homepage to explore all of our exciting videos.